Yo, what's up, everyone? Today, we're gonna talk about vampires, like the video game kind. Alright, so Darkstalkers, which for some reason I have a heck of a time trying to pronounce it. Maybe I'll just call it Vampire Savior or Vampire Hunter or whatever different names this series has. But Darkstalkers is something I've always been aware of, like super aware of it. Mostly, it's probably like a lot of other people due to like crossover stuff, like the SNK versus Capcom games. Both those had Morgan in it. I believe the first one had Morgan in it as well. I'm not as familiar with the first one. Obviously, SNK versus Capcom, that game's a mess, but I love it. I'm talking about the Neo Geo game, not the Neo Geo Pocket Color game, which is actually like from a pure gameplay standpoint, it's probably much better than the Neo Geo game. But the Neo Geo game has so much heart and it's such a mess. But both of those have Darkstalkers characters in it. The Neo Geo Pocket Color one has Morgan, and I want to say the cat thing. I swear it does. And then the Neo Geo game has Dimitri in it. So I've played those a lot, especially when I was younger, like the Neo Geo game and SNK vs. Capcom 2. And then a little later on, Tatsunoko vs. Capcom, one of the best fighting games ever that had Morgan in it. Obviously, you got like UMVC 3 that has like 3 of them. I guess if you want to count, Gem Fighter, whatever. The thing that's in the Capcom Fighting Collection, it was in, for some reason, the Alpha Anthology on the PS2. That cute little one with the cute sprites. It's got like, it's got Morgan, and it's got the ghost-looking woman thing. And the cat. You know, there was quite a few crossover stuff. Now that I'm like really thinking about it. Oh, and we cannot forget Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. Like honestly, the gameplay of that is still really good. You can roast me all you want for that, but that game is good. It just looks really bad. I mean, but that had Jeddah and Morgan, and because I never played Darkstalkers, that was the first game I saw Jeddah in, and I was like, oh my god, this guy is just 90s edge, and I love everything about him. So, that's where we're starting off. You know what? And we're gonna have a quick cut-in. I'm just gonna film this with my phone. I own a Darkstalkers game, and I've had it for like probably over 2 years. I have one for the Sega Saturn, and I just never played it. Like, I could have played Darkstalkers before like this week, but I just haven't gotten around to it. I always said like, hey, I'm gonna play this. Hey, I'm gonna, like, you know, me and my friend group, we play a lot of fighting games, and it's always like, one of these times we're gonna throw Darkstalkers in and we're gonna play it. That never happened. It happened now. So yeah, I've been sitting on this cool little Saturn version of Vampire Hunter, and it's got this like almost kind of crusty artwork on the back end. I love it. It's like there's no like scan lines on it. Not that we were really talking about scan lines back then, but it's just like unfiltered and raw, and it looks kind of rough. But I kind of love that about it. And obviously on the cover we got Donovan and stuff going on. So the thing is, I got this like over 2 years ago with my Japanese Saturn. I've had an American one forever, and the dude sent me this, and the it was in on the PS1 in America, but not on the Saturn in America. That Street Fighter collection, that Alpha 2 Gold and Street Fighter 2 Turbo. I might have had online play on the Saturn version. I can't remember if that was only the Dreamcast. But yeah, I've been sitting on this forever, and I still haven't put it in my Saturn. But maybe after I'm done recording this video, here I could like, if you want to see like, you got some artwork and stuff here. You got the cool disc going on. You know what? While we're here, just gonna get a little unscripted. But I actually haven't even looked at this. What we got going on here? This artwork is cool. Donovan looks spooky there. Oh yeah, wait, here we go. See? Can't read that. Maybe I'll translate it. More Donovan. So I wonder if this is one of those versions that has like more characters than the arcade version. Obviously, because they had like more memory to work with. Oh, this is kind of cool. Obviously, I'm a big fan of whatever's going on here. Turbo mode. Oh god. Oh no. You know what? I'm small enough YouTube won't notice. Alright, what's this? Is this werewolf dude, maybe? The Saturn pad was good for fighting games when I was younger because you had just have the 6 buttons. Obviously, I use like stick for everything now, but is this supposed to be the guard push stuff? In that video, I'm gonna link in the description. You'll learn all about that if you have it. Honestly, it wasn't worth me talking about it because I'm not gonna explain it the best, but how you had to do guard push stuff in this was ridiculous. That's really cool. Is that supposed to be like Dimitri or something? There's the werewolf. Then I have no idea who that was. Oh, these are like move lists and stuff. Oh, wow. That's really cool. I'll try not to make this too long. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but that's really cool. That's cool. That's good artwork. These old like 90s fighting game artworks, I still have such a... Believe it or not, English is my first language. I always, like, especially the stuff on, like, Capcom vs. SNK 2. I can't think of that artist, but he did some of the Tatsunoko vs. Capcom art. Wait, there's Sasquatch and the fish, too. Okay, this version might actually have... Yeah, because that's... Enemy terminated, okay. What? Wait, or is this, like, dialogue stuff, and that's, Sender. And, yeah, I know, I'm doing that on purpose. That's cool. Yeah, maybe I'll actually play this when I'm done with this video. Alright, that's it for me. The point I'm getting at is I just got that Capcom Fighting Collection on sale or whatever, because, you know, like, support people, get official things, and then do whatever you want to do from there. But also, it's just fun to have a collection I can throw on my portable computer, bring that around and stuff too. So I really sat down and I played some Darkstalkers for the first time, and that is what this video is going to be about. I'm going to tell you how cool this is and how not good I am at the game. So if you're looking for competitive knowledge on how to play these games, this probably isn't going to be the video for you. I do play fighting games, and I do play them competitively, but I'm incredibly new to Darkstalkers. I don't know what I'm doing yet, but I know that I love it. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Alright, we're all on the same page? Let's go. Okay, so probably the first thing to talk about, the most important thing of any fighting game really, would be the characters. So you got, and don't act surprised, you have a vampire. At least, like, I'm 50% sure he's a vampire. I've been playing all these games in Japanese, so I don't know the lore. I have, like, 8 hours of Duolingo, and it's not helping me whatsoever. So you got vampire, Frankenstein dude, YouTube please, the best character, werewolf, I think a zombie, skeleton man, I don't know, something like that. I mean, he's got some stuff going on. Succubus, literally called Sasquatch. You got Succubus 2.0. You got Fish. Ghost. A bee. She has weaponry. Human. She might be a human. She might. I'm not sure. I'm gonna need the lore recap after we're done with this video. Yes. And of course, mummy guy. So, this is great, right? Like, no problems here. Except that that's not all the characters that exist in Darkstalkers, and here lies one of the biggest problems. So we're gonna go through some of the other characters real quick, but in order to do that, we're gonna have to go to a different game. Alright. So, something different is happening here. For one, there's straight up a missing slot on the top. Not a great look. But, we have second best character, Donovan, and I'm assuming he's some sort of monk or something. Like I said, the lore, not understanding it. He has a little human thing following him around. It's great. Then you got Cinder. You got SMT Demon. And Yeah, I think that's the major differences. But then you see the problem. Well, what happened to Succubus 2.0? What happened to Jeddah? I kind of want Jeddah, you know? So, all right, I'm on the same page. Where's the rest of the characters? So, in order to do that, we got to go to game 3. Well, more like game 5, I think, but the third game we're talking about real quick. So, okay, we got best character back, and we have second best character. This is good. We even have Succubus 2.0 back. This is probably the best roster, except once again, where are some of the characters? You don't get no Sasquatch, you don't get no fish, and there's something else, but clearly I don't care enough to remember who it was. So, here's the biggest problem with trying to get into Darkstalkers. Now, I'm not going to give you the full lore recap because there's a video that would be so much better to explain everything, and I'm not going to spend the whole video just talking about version differences. This is more about why these games are so cool. However, in the description, I'm going to put a link for Guile and Windquote's videos discussing the differences between the Darkstalkers games, and he's going to explain it so much better than I am. But in order for you to just get through this video, I'll give you the quick lore recap on this, but like, please watch that video when you're done with this. So, obviously we had the first game I showed you, like the one everybody plays, Vampire Savior. Yes, Vampire Savior. We're gonna go with that. We're gonna hope I'm right. So that's the one everybody plays competitively. That's the one people like the most. I didn't play that at first because I saw this guy and I was like, I want to play as this guy. This guy's cool. So then what are my options, you know? It's not playing that game. So I think I played Vampire Hunter 2, or is this Hunter 2? Look, I don't know, but it's the second one in between Savior and Savior 2, Hunter 2. Look, man, I'm so over these naming conventions. I have no idea what game this is. We're looking at it though, and it's Darkstalkers. That much I can tell you for sure. Anyways, so they rebalanced the game a bit and then added some older characters in to the update. But because there was only so much memory to be working with the CPS2 arcade hardware, they had to cut some things out to put older things back in, which is like, that kind of sucks. So then when they updated it again, they shuffled it around a little more, got a slightly different cast going on, but it's still not the complete picture. So that's why there's like literal roster differences between these three versions. And the problem is, on paper, I personally think this is the best roster. However, this also isn't the version people are going to be wanting to play competitively because there's a lot of weird oddities about it. So I'm not going to get too much into that myself. It doesn't really serve the purpose of this video. But like I said, go watch the video in the description when you're done, and then you'll be on the same page as me and be like, man, I don't even know where to begin, but just pick one. I would, because like, unless you're going to get super serious about this, which you might, but when you're just starting out, just play one that has maybe the character roster you like the most, and then like work from there. Maybe you would develop some bad habits, but like, if you want Jeddah to fight Donovan, what are you supposed to do? You know? Now I think some of the console versions do have a bigger roster, but there's also other problems with them. Maybe eventually I'll be putting in my Sega Saturn game and playing it. I really should at this point. So that's the characters you have. And the main ones I've played so far are Donovan and Jeddah, and like a tiny bit of Lilith, but it's just like, she's just a Ryu or a Ken, you know? Which is fine. It's really good for just learning some of the mechanics of the game pretty simply. So, now that we're done talking about the whole fiasco with the characters, now we're going to talk about gameplay and kind of / sprite work, because I really want to talk about that. Alright, you ready? Alright, now we can talk about the game itself. First thing I want to talk about is this game, this collection, has a really good training mode. Now, something some of my audience might not realize is that older arcade games did not have training modes. However, some newer arcade games actually do. Like, I have a round one next to my place, and stuff like Street Fighter V or BlazBlue Central Fiction and Cross Tag, those all have training modes in the arcade. Like, I don't know how many people are aware of that. Granted, you're like eating up all your credits so you can play in training mode for 3 minutes, but you know, it's cool. But older games did not have that. Like, you figured stuff out as you were playing and then waited for the console release. That's just how it was. So you're figuring out everything on the fly. You gotta make sure you're talking to other people like, hey, how did you do this? You just, you know, it's nice that they went back and implemented such a good training mode. It's got input reading, so you can see exactly what you're doing. It's got probably my favorite addition, just the hitbox to see what the hitboxes are really doing. And then obviously you got your combo damage up in the corner. That stuff's great. But for the purpose of this video, I'm going to turn all those off so it's not cluttering the screen, because the next thing I really want to talk about first is like the sprite work in this game. Alright, so we're going to talk about sprite work a little bit here. So you got some basic stuff. You know, you got your light, medium, heavy. And I already love that. Like, this, you're telling me this is a medium punch? Sure. Sure it is. But, like, look at that. Look at how creative this is. Like, that's my heavy punch right there. I love that. That is so good. And then what really sold me on the goofiness of this game is, this game doesn't care what a kick is. Like, alright, that's my light kick. Sure. That's my medium kick. Alright. But my favorite thing, my heavy kick, oh yeah, that's a heavy kick right there. I love everything about that. It's like, this game didn't care about, like, conventions that Capcom themselves already set up with Street Fighter 2. They're like, sure, anything can be a heavy kick. It doesn't matter. So, that's one thing I'm gonna make direct comparisons with. Not that I'm trying to, like, dog on Street Fighter, because I love Street Fighter. I always have. But, like, if you're comparing this to, like, the Alpha series, let's say, like, Alpha 2, everything about this is, like, so much more creative. At least, not, like, Street Fighter has its own place, and it's super iconic and super important. But to me, I grew up playing a lot of SNK stuff, a lot of Samurai Showdown, Last Blade, KOF, Fatal Fury, and SNK always had, like, a little more flair to me. And, like, I was aware of Darkstalkers, like I said, but I've never sat down to play it. But I'm playing this and stuff, and I'm like, man, like, Capcom really was creative during the 90s. Like, unfortunately, this didn't really stick. But I was so wrong about thinking that they were, like, a little more bland, because this is super, super creative. Something else I want to kind of bring attention to is some of the super animations are, like, so out there and so cool. Like, you got this, which I already was enjoying a lot. Like, that's great. I love that. But the other, I mean, he has a couple, but the other one of his that I really like, and I'm like, man, this is so good. Like, they spend so much time animating for such a quick, short super. So this super right here, this is so great to me. It's like, you got the whole contract thing in the background. I'm assuming he's stealing your soul or something. I don't know what's going on with that, but I love everything about it. Like, if you compare that to, like, say, one of, like, the what do they call, like, the super Hadokens? I don't know what you call that. But even in, like, MVC, like, there's nothing that is that out there and that crazy. That, like, when I saw that, I'm like, okay, I love this game. I love everything it's trying to do from that one super. I'm like, okay, this is incredible. So, let's talk about, before I get into the gameplay a little bit, I want to talk about the stages a little bit. So, you can see the one that we've, been showing a little bit already here. And it's a nice little forest thing. I think something's happening to the poor little lizard back there. I hope he's okay. You got something going on with that fish. That's great right there. I like that, I suppose. Just put him back in the water when you're done. But the one stage that really got me, and I was like, oh man, I love everything about this, would be whatever is happening here. This is the stage where you fight Jeddah in the arcade mode. And the first thing that it makes me think of, and I don't know if I'm the only one, But this makes me think of like some of the imagery in Berserk. Now, I'm not going to talk too much about that because I wouldn't want to like spoil anything for anyone. But to me, that's what it reminds me of. But also like just how unbelievably creative this is. Like, again, think about like Street Fighter stage. And I'm not dogging on Street Fighter because some of those Alpha 2 stages are iconic. But if you're looking at like this in comparison, it's like, all right, there's a lot more of something going on here, and I freaking love it. It is gross. It's unique. It's creative. It's so much more than I was used to from 90s Capcom. There was so much more going on here. Like the animation in this stage and stuff too, like that thing's blinking in the background, like everything about that. I love that. That's so good. That's so good. Another stage that I like a lot. So this like train stage, this is great. I love this too. This is like I think like second to last stage you get when you're playing arcade mode or something. But like look at what's with this? What's with that mouth thing? Like oh, it's up there too. I just noticed that. See, this is great. This is gross. I hate everything about this and also love everything about this. Alright, enough about that. Stage work is great. Sprite work's great. Alright, not enough about it. Look at this guy. I love him. I don't know what he's doing, but I love him. So, this game kind of works almost like if MVC was just 1v1. And what I mean by that is how some of the combos are structured. At least, that's kind of what this game was making me think of. And it also really made me wish I played this when I was younger. I really would have appreciated this. But unlike, say, Street Fighter, where your basic combo might be like a jumping heavy kick into a medium punch Hadouken or something like that, this is just like more so similar to what you see in like modern anime fighters, like if you're playing like Melty Blood or something. So you can do light, medium, heavy. Same with kicks, light, medium, heavy. So that's already, I think, really easy for somebody that's kind of newer to pick up on. It's like you're not thinking about only this heavy kick goes into this medium punch into this specific special into this specific super, which I love everything about those kind of combos too. But sometimes when you're just feeling a little lazier and you just kind of want to hit some buttons, it's nice just to have some light, medium, heavies you can do and just throw a special after it. Like sometimes I really appreciate it. Sometimes it's nice. It's easier, in my experience, to get people into games like this because this is much more easy to pick up and understand how to do something even basic. I mean, you know, that's at least a combo. I'm not saying it's competitively viable and everything about it's going to be great, but at least it's something that's easy to understand. So you got your light, medium, heavies with whatever you want to call Jetta's kicks. I love that so much. So then we get to supers, and I know I already showed you a little bit of this kind of stuff, but one thing I really want to talk about is some of like the super inputs. Those get a little weird. Alright, so Donovan was the first character I was checking out. I like the whole, I'm assuming he's a monk or something. I don't know. He's really cool though. So I was checking him out, you know. I was figuring some stuff out. He's got his personas, his stands. I jest. But then I was looking at his supers, and you know this one, this is fine. This is like I understand what's going on. You just got your half circle, but then I'm looking at like Change Immortal, and I was like, all right, not a huge fan of that. I mean, I'm fine with it now, but that was tripping me up so much when I was first playing because it's medium light into light medium, and like, why does it need to be that? Why can't it just be medium light into medium light? It's unnecessarily obtuse. I'm fine with it now. I'm golden, but it's just one of those things where it's like, I don't understand why this is like that, but it's also charming. I think, like, if I grew up playing this instead of, like, Fatal Fury and KOF and stuff, I probably would think the pretzel input was like, why would they do that? In comparison to whatever's going on with Change Immortal here, where I'm thinking, like, why would they do that? But, you know, that's kind of the charm of some 90s fighting games. It's like, some of the inputs, it's just literally an execution barrier for no reason. It's not like that move's incredible or anything, but I want to show you the one input that tripped me up the most. So, my dude was over. We finally checked out Darkstalkers. because I've been checking out Darkstalkers. So he's in training mode. He's trying some different characters. So he's trying this Phobos dude out. I'm assuming that's his name. And he's looking at his move list, you know? So then we're going through things. Everything's fine. The one thing we're like, while blocking, sure, you can input. Love it. Great. But then we got to that Ray of Doom down there. And I was like, oh, sweet God. What is that? I've never seen that input before. It's like a sideways Shoryuken motion. I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this? This doesn't make any sense. I figured it out. But when we both first saw that input, we're like, what do we do about that? Like, I literally can't parse it just from looking at it. Like, I had to look up a more separate notation on, and see, even then, there we go. Not a huge fan of that, but then at the same time, I kind of am. It's so ridiculous. It's so unnecessary. Like, there's no reason that input needed to be that. It's like down, forward, and then Shoryuken. And it's not like this game has the most lenient input buffer, if there's even a buffer. I don't know. But it's not the most lenient with that. So you got stuff like that where it's like, why? But at the same time, it's charming. It's incredibly charming. And if you're new, it's not like you're going to consistently know how to do every move in every scenario. Like, just learn a couple specials, learn a super, go through arcade mode, you know. Have fun with it. You don't need to know everything. You'll get there after just playing it for a while. Especially, get a couple people that have never played it together and just do some matches. You'll be having a great time. Just do some light, medium, heavy, throw out a super every now and then. It's golden. So, I want to bring this back a little bit to some of the uniqueness that this game has. Jeddah has this one move where he, like, grabs you and I don't know how else to say this, but he, like, inflates you. Oh, sweet Lord. However, what's really cool about it, so that's what's happening with this character, right? Alright, so say we have Morgan instead, and we do this move. She has a unique reaction to it compared to BB Hood. So, that's what I like about it. And Jeddah's not the only character like this. There's different characters that have different specials, and there's like unique animations for getting hit by them. I think that's so cool. That is such a great attention to detail with this game, and you find it all over the place. It's like, you kind of don't see that stuff anymore, which I understand the industry is completely different now. We're not using sprite work and stuff anymore, but this was such a magical time for fighting games, and I feel like developers were just pouring everything they had into them, and some stuff stuck, some of it didn't, but there's clearly a lot of love that was put into this kind of stuff, you know? So here's something else I want to talk about this game. You might have noticed it already, but if you're playing on Turbo Mode, which I'm assuming would be the competitive standard, as long as you're not playing this version of Darkstalkers, this isn't the competitive standard whatsoever. But this game is fast. It's like really fast. I wasn't really expecting that going into it, but I really like it. Like, games nowadays, and it's just a different landscape. But if you're playing Strive, well, if you're pretending to play Strive, some of those server issues, yeah. But if you're playing Strive, you're playing Street Fighter 5, like, games have gotten, like, slower, which is, you know, it's just a matter of taste, and I like both sides of things. Like, something like Street Fighter 5 feels really deliberate. Like, everything feels very calculated. But then you go back, and then, you know, Capcom had a lot of games like this. Like, the old KOF, like, that stuff is, like, fast. That stuff's, like, really, really going. But yeah, this game is super fast, and I really like that. Like, when I first started playing it, I was, like, almost not able to react to half the stuff that was going on. You get used to it, though. You really do, but it was such a breath of fresh air going back to something like this that is just so incredibly fast. Like, lately, I've been kind of playing just a lot of modern fighters. Like, I always will go back eventually, and I'm lucky enough, I have a Neo Geo, I have a Neo Geo CD. I go back to that kind of stuff, and I do play this stuff somewhat frequently, but lately, it's just been like a lot of like Street Fighter 5 and Strive and stuff. And then you go back to something like this, and it's like, man, this is really cool. This is really fast. Which, you know, it just makes matches so hype. These matches could be over so quickly. The speed in which you have to, like, react to certain things once you start getting kind of good, and if two people are playing that are kind of good, like, it's nutty. It's really nutty. But that doesn't mean you couldn't enjoy it as like a more casual like fighting in person or whatever. And you could always play on like the normal speed too. But I think turbo's where it's at. I think even if you're like spooked of it, just go straight to turbo and have some fun and hit some buttons. Now, I want to talk about one more thing. Before I forget, I almost forgot. There's a universal mechanic in this game called Dark Force, I believe. If you press both heavy buttons, you enter this state, and it takes meter. I think it takes 2 meter. And you get like a damage buff, you get damage reduction, and your like gray health heals. So take a combo like this. Let's get the numbers going. All right, we got some numbers up now. So if you do like basic combo like that, you got 26. Then we enter this Dark Force thing. All of a sudden, that's worth 41. And then, like I said, you're because you do get like gray health in this game, almost like it's like a versus game, and you can tag out. You can't tag out, but you can recover that, and then you take less damage. I'm pretty sure. The one thing that kind of sucks is that this isn't how it works in all of the games, and there's different inputs to do, like different versions. But in like Vampire Savior or Survivor, whatever like the tournament standard one is, everyone's got something kind of unique instead. Like Jeddah will always be flying during it and stuff like that. Now, I believe you can still do those versions in this game, but they require specific inputs instead of just pressing both heavies or something. So that's kind of sucks. And again, that's why these games are all over the place as far as which version you want to play. Again, I'll link a really good video if you haven't seen it by Kyle Win-Quotes in the description. So absolutely watch that. But there's kind of a universal feature you can play around with too to do some more damage from your basic combos and stuff. So it's overall, it's still cool in this game. I just wish the more unique versions were easier to do for people that were just jumping in. So, to wrap this all up, the whole point of this isn't some sort of all-encompassing guide going over every character and mechanic. What this was I never played Darkstalkers before. I played it. Past couple days I've been super invested in it, and I'm like, man, I absolutely love this, and I really want to talk about it. So, this really reminds me of, like, 90s SNK stuff, and I mean that in the best way possible. The Neo Geo is my favorite console for fighting games. I love the KOF stuff, the Fatal Fury, Last Blade, Samurai Showdown, all that stuff. It always felt much more creative than what Capcom was putting out. And that is, again, no like shade to the Capcom stuff, because I love it just as much, like gameplay-wise and stuff. It's great. Like, all those old Street Fighters and stuff, I still play them very consistently. I love Alpha 2 to death. Like, those games are really good. But it's just, as far as, like, character designs and background designs and animations and stuff, like, to me, SNK was always the thing that had, like, always the company that had the edge up on that kind of stuff. But this game is definitely straight up there with some of, like, the Samurai Showdown stuff, design-wise and creativity and stuff. But yeah, this game's straight up there with some of the SNK stuff that I loved growing up. I feel like if I played this growing up, I would have had a different opinion about some of the Capcom stuff. And again, it's not like, I'm not like crapping on it, but it's like, maybe because I played even MVC growing up, it became like normalized in my head. I'm like, this isn't that crazy. It is on paper. Like, maybe if I never played MVC 2 or something when I was younger, and I play that now for the first time, I'd be like, oh my god, like, you can play as, like, Doctor Doom and Venom and all this stuff, and then maybe it would have been like, oh, this is crazy. And, like, even with, like, the JoJo game for the CPS3 machines and Dreamcast and stuff, I guess in my head it was like, well, this is cool and really good, but it's like, it's creative because it's JoJo, not as creative because Capcom was doing something crazy. And again, this really feels like I'm knocking on the Capcom stuff. I'm really, like, not trying to, because I played just as much of it growing up. I loved it. Well, apparently not Darkstalkers, but, like, everything else Capcom was doing. I played Rival Schools. I played all of it, you know? But this is probably the first one that spoke to me on a creative level when I was like, oh, this is really what I want. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I love, like, Seth and, like, SF5 and stuff, like, all day long. Like, I'm all over that stuff. But, like, when I see something like Jeddah, and I'm like, oh, that's 90s edge right there. I'm all about that. So my point being, this is kind of an introduction to Darkstalkers if you've never played it. I gave you some things I thought were cool about it, some easy stuff you can start out with, but what this is really about is, hey, I think this is cool, but I want other people to start playing this. I want you specifically watching this right now. Go get this Capcom collection or whatever else you have to do and go start playing Darkstalkers. I want you to tell me who your favorite character is, what stage you like, what type of moves you like in this and stuff. Like, if there's any other super I might not be aware of, like that Jeddah super that's like so extra and so cool. Like, please let me know about it. This is like my new passion right now. I am like I said, I'm so in love with this, and I wish I would have like actually taken the time to play this earlier. So it's kind of the whole point of this video. Darkstalkers is really cool. I hope you're getting that out of this video. That's what I really want to do with this. So I want you to go play Darkstalkers like right now. You can stop watching this video. I'm pretty much done talking about Darkstalkers. Go play Darkstalkers. It is so cool. Alright, I'm out.